Hello and good evening. It's like 10, 11 or something at night. And so I'm getting ready to go to sleep. Um, Today I was helping out with Vacation Bible School for my church. And my pastor, or one of my pastors, um, said something that was really very interesting in passing. So as they were building a net for Vacation Bible School because the theme has to do with the ocean and the sea and things of that nature. Um, and she said it's always better to have more than to have less. And she said it in passing, and I started thinking about it in my head. And at first, I was like, "Oh, well, there are plenty of things where it's better to have less of than more," and and really just kind of thinking through it. Um, but even I think with like faith, better to have more faith than less faith. Um, but really, where it led me to thinking was, and I think because I've been reading Hebrews 11 most recently, I've been reading through the whole book of Hebrews, and now I'm on Hebrews chapter 11, and so I began to really think through the progression because it goes from really God to Abel to Enoch to Noah to Abraham, including then Sarah, back to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and such. And um, it really finally clicked, I think, why God was so upset with Moses to the point that he didn't allow Moses to come into the promised land. And so um, let me explain. So Abraham, and Hebrews 11 talks about Abraham a lot. It talks about Abraham and how Abraham went to a place that he didn't even know where he was. He didn't get to see. I need to go back even a little farther. So there was this guy named Abraham, right? And he's fine. He lives in I guess probably a moderately prosperous household, and God tells him to leave his household and to go off and enter the land that today we call the Holy Land, but it was really the Promised Land. It was the land that God had promised to the Jewish people, who aren't even a people yet, specifically to Abraham. And Abraham left, and he lived in a tent his whole life. He didn't have a physical house. He didn't have any property except for, I didn't remember if it was him or if it was Jacob that first bought property in the Promised Land. I think it was Abraham. But he basically owned only a tomb in the Promised Land. He never owned a lot of land. He didn't. He just kind of grazed and was a wanderer in that place. And then in Hebrews 11 talks about that, and it says not only him but also his son and his grandson. It said he lived in tents, as did Isaac and Jacob, who were heirs together with him. Heirs meaning people who inherited the promise that God had given Abraham of inheriting that territory to build a country. And so Abraham at first was able to have no kids, and then he and his wife at a basically impossible age had one kid, just one. And then that one kid had two kids. And that would look like a mass improvement, but that's not great improvement if you're trying to make a country, right? And even still, one of those kids wanted to kill the other because the other basically robbed him and cheated him. And say, well, how are we going to build a nation out of those? And then one of those kids had 12 children, and 11 of them got together, or no, sorry, 10 of them got together and sold one of them into slavery. And so it looked like even though some had been gained, one was lost in a pretty brutal way. It definitely didn't look like they were going to become a super numerous people. And fast forwarding to the time of Moses, there's over 1 million Jewish people. Over 1 million Jewish people. And going from 1 to 2 to 12 to 1 million, that's a really incredible thing to have happen, especially considering that several people along the line weren't supposed to be able to have children. And in Moses' day, Moses is often complaining to God, going, Lord, these people that you have put under my care, Lord, these people that you have given me, these people that you have put me in charge of, Lord, and he's, you can't, it's hard to fault him on one hand, but it's also, he's literally walking around and seeing and interacting with what Abraham and Isaac and Jacob were promised. And he can't see it because he's so focused on like the stresses of dealing with them. And I can't help but feel that part of that is because of the difference in the way that the Lord interacts with us today is in his day. But that is, I just found that very, very profound. And so I wanted to share it with you. I think we should be, I think for me, it's a call to be careful to really think about, like, what are the things in my life that someone else, really, really prayed for? Did someone pray, Lord, I just, I'm here and I'm in this situation, but like, help me to have, the one descendant like graduate from school, or, Lord, I can't, I'm afraid to speak, but I pray that one of my descendants is a courageous, public speaker, or Lord, I pray that my descendants know you, no matter what the stakes are. What are the struggles in my life that are answers to somebody else's prayer, that are intended to be blessings, and it really kind of put a lot in perspective for me. So anyway, hope that this was helpful to you. Have a good night.